welcome. We're just going to give it a few minutes to let people jump in from far and wide joining us today for this session. Looking forward to getting into it. We've got an all-star panel to have an active conversation over lunchtime. So as always, as we like to operate these webinars, please write in the chat where you're dialing in from, what your role and focus is, what partnerships means as well. Would that be insightful? We want to make this not a TED Talk, two-way conversation. Scott will be monitoring the chat and bringing some of the insights that we see flying through there back to the audience. So over to everyone in the chat just to kick off with as people are just loading in. Hi, Rosie, good to see you. Assume you're in Collingwood today, maybe. Thanks, Dara. We've got lots more jumping in now. If you're just joining in now, feel free to from the chat where you're dialing in from today, what partnerships means to you. We're going to encourage chat throughout the webinar. So, hey Brett, great to see you. Thanks for coming. Numbers are steadily climbing up. I don't know if there's any webinar protocol. Like if it starts at 12, do people, is it a 12:05 thing? People wander in. If you go to a live event, you don't rock up 5 minutes late. But webinars, people seem just to roll through. I don't know.
I think it depends on when your 11 a.m. finishes, right?
Yeah, that's weird. Maybe we need to sort of say, walk in at 12 or 12:05 start, Tara. All right, Scott, we'll give it another minute and then we can kick off with some intros and get into this active discussion. Welcome, Rochelle from NZ, Team Marcelo. Hey, Poppy, chilly Arrowtown. I'm in Melbourne and it's just always chilly. So
it's still going to be chilly on Saturday, apparently.
Yeah. I just came back from a country wedding in country New South Wales where it was 28 degrees.
Oh, nice.
So,
Charles from Byron Bay. I'd much rather be there right now.
I want your life, Charles.
See you, Chuck. Thanks for coming. Shopify team, welcome team. Penny from the Advisory Board Centre, always great to see you. Great, thanks for joining. All right. Very cool. Hey, Carly, great to see you. Thanks for joining along. Hey, Wade. What's going on? All right. Well, with that, I think we can get into it for the afternoon. I'd like to start off with acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islander people here today. And with that, for the next hour, we're going to be talking about turning intent into impact. So bringing the partnerships to life. And we're joined by two stellar guests who are, building and growing their partnership capabilities for their, rapidly scaling businesses, doing awesome things. So in order of the screen, Tara, I might kick off with introductions from yourself, and then you can pass over to Jodes.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Tara, the CRO here at Firmable. So we are a B2B sales intelligence platform built specifically for the ANZ market and working with a lot of great companies across this region. And I see some actually dialing into the webinar, which is great as well. So we're helping sales leaders and teams at companies like TPG or Intercom, Monday.com, lots of different types of businesses be able to better reach their prospects or target partners or otherwise and reach out to them and try to do business at the right time.
Thanks, Tara. Great to have you here. Over to you, Jodes.
Thank you. Thanks, Tara. We're one of your customers as well, very excitingly. Hi, I'm Jodie, co-founder and CEO at Tractor Ventures. We launched nearly 5 years ago in 2020. And the whole reason for our being, having been in the ecosystem for many, many years, and as entrepreneurs ourselves and investors and ecosystem leaders, we saw a gap, and that gap was in the funding landscape for startups. So we called ourselves Tractor because we were drawing an analogy between rockets and tractors, and rockets are very exciting and some of them land on the moon, but they're also very expensive and a lot of them blow up along the way. And we've seen a lot of that carnage over our time. And so Tractor Ventures is really here for those founders that are building more steadily in conjunction with their customers. You know, if you said to a farmer, I'm sorry, you're going to take your tractor away, the farmer's probably likely going to get pretty upset about that. So, you know, building stuff that's really, their customers rely on, and they don't necessarily want to get to the moon, or they're just not VC backable. And so we've been able to lend now. So basically what we provide is debt. So we have 4 different products, which I can get into later, but we've lent now over $120 million out to over 260 companies across Australia and New Zealand. And so, really excited to be here. We've been working with Hockey Stick for a few years and building out our partnership. So excited to get into that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Let's get into it. So throughout this session, we'll be hearing some insights around what partnerships means for both their businesses as they scale up, and also what it isn't, and maybe things they wish they might have done differently along the way. So we'll also be presenting our partnerships framework, which we've built after doing engagements with over 65 companies now over the last 3.5 years, which started as an idea of a gap in the market at which we saw, where how can partnerships be more impactful to drive forward growth. And we'll talk about this thing called AI, which some of you on the call may have heard of, and what does that mean regarding partnerships too. All right, we'll start here to set the scene. So when we're having exec conversations, it's usually on one of these 2 pillars: is can partnerships help drive growth for the next month, quarter, the next few years, the top line growth, but also the bottom line costs. Like, if we can get partnerships firing, then maybe we don't have to hire as many people, which reduces our CapEx for it. A recent engagement with a company up in Sydney, we've been working on this because they're swimming upstream and they don't have enough customer success and support and onboarding managers. So they need partners to be able to drive the top line growth, and whilst not also of a CapEx. And so it really starts here for the conversation around what is the role of partnerships. And when we look over to some results that we've seen from Pavilion, which is the world's biggest go-to-market community, we know that if you get a referral coming through, it's got a higher win rate, it's got a bigger contract value, and it also closes faster. And the second question on the exec table of founders is, well, how do we do this, right? Like, how can we do this, and can we do it tomorrow? So our view is that it's much more broader. It's moved beyond being transactional, that like, hey, send us a fire hose of customers or leads, and what can we actually do ourselves more broadly right across the business, and what does that look like in marketing to drive more awareness, brand and leads through? Who can help us on the sales front, on the customer success front, and who can help us expand into new geographies and regions? And I think a really good state of partnerships is Greg Portney, who is the CEO of Eula, based in California. He's got a rapidly growing PRM who, Jodes, I know you've done some work with in the early stages yourselves. Greg was last week up in Washington for Pavilion's conference, where they had over 800 go-to-market leaders more broadly, and specifically CROs and directors, and what's front and center all of a sudden in an AI noisy world. Partnerships is on the front foot right now into the broader go-to-market. I think this is reflecting the state of go-to-market more broadly, because what we're seeing is as inbound changes, the effectiveness of that is outbound, is CapEx heavy around to go with it, then there's a lot of emphasis of what can partnerships do to deliver upon the growth ambitions in market. And I might just pause here. Tara, how are you seeing partnerships right now in market? Maybe when Firmable started.
Yeah, I think probably one of the big shifts we've seen is, we kind of started out thinking about, your traditional partnerships, like your referrers and your resellers and so forth. And we kind of went down the referrer path because we still kind of want to own that customer relationship directly as well. But we want to leverage, partners with complementary ICPs to kind of amplify the message and be able to help with, what they're trying to achieve with their kind of end customers as well. But I think the big shift we've kind of seen is, yes, those kind of traditional partnerships are great, but partnerships also extend to just more informal relationships with, influencers and the like. So how can you leverage people in your space, thought leaders in your space, to kind of spread the word, share your message, help promote in, I guess, less traditional kind of partnership ways.
Yeah, so more integrated right across the business rather than this thing off to the side, like, go get a shitload of leads, right? Like, and fire it into the business.
Yeah, and it's less of kind of a, pure, sales partner manager type play. It's also got to be deeply integrated with, your marketing and ecosystem related activities.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jodes, what about you? What's like the state of play of partnerships in Tractor today?
Yeah, so it's evolved a little bit, but I suppose, when I remember the first meeting we had with you, Bryan, and it was, setting out how do we see partnerships and what's kind of our vision and what we want it to look like. And we talked about, we want to be able to give. Like, first thing is, how do we give to our partners? And that becomes the principle for how we do everything else. And so I love that. And I think, hopefully we keep that as much as we can. And it's sort of what we've got now is 3. And we had a unique problem when Bryan came in. He said, this is not like most companies he works with, where we had a lot of people knocking on our door wanting to be our partners. So the challenge wasn't how do we get partners, it was how do we manage the partners. And so we've got 3 distinct groups now. One of them are the referral group, and so we've got a whole program for them to be able to refer customers to us. We've got a perks group, so Stripe, AWS, Notion. We've got a whole tech stack of companies that offer discounts to our portfolio, and then we've got our growth partners who they get value out of our portfolio of growing companies when they want to provide their services. So that's how it's sitting at the moment.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and once again, it's integrated. It's in Tractor's DNA now. How you're serving your clients as well, right along the customer journey, rather than, once again, something off in isolation.
Yeah.
Well, interesting insight. So, in terms of that shift of it, you spoke to it exactly what we're sort of seeing as the major trends. If you don't follow Jay McBain, I highly recommend to do so. And Scott, if in the background you can drop it in. Because what it is moving the role of partners around, the awareness stage, consideration, closing a deal, servicing afterwards. They're looking to build businesses and grow with you. And Judge, to your point, if there's not value to them ongoing on the other side, then there's just the activity is not going to follow, which just doesn't make any sense, right? And one of the studies they did recently also indicates that is, partners are looking to build and grow businesses right along your customer journey with it, whether adding more services, selling their own solutions, the upsell, cross-sell. In an AI noisy world, there needs to be that alignment piece, which we'll talk to a little bit more. So a few months ago, we produced our first State of Partnerships report, and from the attendees who completed the survey, a lot of people are looking at this right now, but there's still a gap we see in the market around the how-to. And I think what's fantastic with both yourself, Tara, and Jodes is that, you've got people who are full-time in a role and really great hires now in the seat to be able to make that investment. Keen for both of you, what was the tipping point to say, yes, we need to hire and put resource behind this now and find great talent?
Yeah.
Might go with it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll jump in first if that's all right, Jodes. I think kind of actually picking up what you were saying before, Jodes, though, like our problem as well wasn't necessarily getting new partners on board. It's then how to carve out time to like nurture those relationships and optimize them, and also, you know, expand the thinking around partnerships into like ecosystems and running community-based events and ways to bring kind of, you know, partners and prospects and so forth together. So I think it just, you know, I think early on it's good to kind of, you know, us as a startup be close to it. So, you know, we were kind of leading the signups and managing partnerships directly ourselves, and you learn a lot through that, right? So I think that's important, but there is a tipping point where, you know, there's just too much to do, and we were kind of letting relationships slip. So, you know, that's really important for us to do better in that area. So, and really just identify those new opportunities to drive greater awareness in the space. So, yeah, that was kind of our tipping point. So the last few months we're like, okay, we need to get somebody dedicated on board, and yeah, that's been our kind of trigger.
Jade's over to you.
Yeah, so I remember very distinctly and getting board approval and all of that when you first started working with us and saying, you know, this is all good. We can create a program and it's all going to be great. But if you don't put a dedicated resource on it, then it's not going to work very well. And so we signed off, yes, we're going to do that, and then didn't do it. And so we just got nervous about making that commitment, I suppose. I don't know. But anyway, we decided to spread out the tasks, and we all then at one point just went a little bit running off in different directions. And now we've realized that, you know, and so we recruited in so many growth partners that unfortunately it's very hard to, without a dedicated resource, have that engagement ongoing. And so then, as you said, like, it just means that they don't get the value, and that's not what we aimed for. So yeah, we've just in the last couple of months brought in finally someone dedicated to manage that, and so that's exciting. You were right, and we were a bit slow on that.
That was the nature of my question, so thank you for that, Jade. So, no joking, and I believe we've got both your team members on the call, so shout out to both of the legends that you've brought into the business. So over Scott, we want to kick off with, there's all this great intent, but like, what's the biggest challenge in enabling partnerships? So I think it should pop up a poll somewhere on the screen for you all. If it doesn't, we'll blame the software. Yeah, it's up there now. So when we're looking through it, I'll talk through it as well. So is it aligning? Is it mapping out an ecosystem internally? Is it validating, making sure that you are giving to partners, making sure that, you know, they're bought in? Is it optimizing, building that internal engine to how does that, you know, link into, you know, the other go-to-market engines, the reporting aspects, or pouring fire on it, making those investments like Tara and Jode said around, we really want to accelerate in this. We're going to invest as a part of it. We've been working with a big company up in Sydney. We've got board sign off for lots of roles to really press fire on this to drive go-to-market and also customer success and partner marketing across the board, because you've got to build those, as in adding more sales seats, you've got to build that business case to be able to show that the ROI is there. And I think that's one of definitely the biggest challenges. All right, so we're getting some good responses through there. So it looks like over, you know, the biggest challenge is the activating part. And, you know, the ongoing, companies want to and aspire to do so much more with partners, but a lot of them haven't actually done the validating. That's like a really huge missing gap. It's a case of, oh, there's this, I know these big logos, or can we get a fire hose of customers from them with the hopes and dreams? Internally, they haven't worked out what partnerships is and isn't. And so you can't really activate if you're not all on the same bus internally. And if you haven't aligned with your partners for the value, it doesn't make sense. There's a fantastic agri app who's on the call, Invest in Your Farmer today, and we're catching up later this afternoon. And what they do is they provide access to capital for farmers connecting with a retail marketplace. And what we're doing at the moment is we're building a really strong value proposition from agronomists, because they have access to more farmers and good farmers. And so what we're doing is we're going through a process whereby we're making sure the agronomists truly understand the value of what Invest in Your Farmer does and what is the upside for them to include it in their service offerings. Otherwise, they're going to remain like, oh yeah, it's another thing on the shelf, but it's not going to actually drive a predictable pipeline, which is often the goal. So let's get into some insights that we've sort of seen from some of our reports. Is, there's this base level of confidence that partnerships lives on the hopes and dreams, and that the teams are able to do it. But there's that struggle, like we just saw then, around, well, we want to activate and do more with partners. So there's a disconnect of what we're doing. And so time and time again, like we get hit up from a lot of partnership managers ongoing of like, oh, I'd love some help, or we're really trying to get these partnerships going, but it's just not moving the needle as much as we'd really like today. And so there's this gap. And so talking through some insights from both Jodes and Tara upcoming, I just want to have an active discussion around why is that the case, and is there any lessons learned that you can share with the audience as we go through this? The things that we see is that this misalignment on actions and outcomes with partners, and Jodes, I think you referred to it before. You didn't have anyone managing all the growth partners dedicated to really be able to grow that. We've seen a lot of companies who will go set up a PRM software, partner relationship management, but then they'll just, build it and they will come. It doesn't work. And Tara, if you remember some of our conversation, you don't need a PRM just yet, right?
Yeah.
Set and forget. We see this really commonly, and for a lot of you who are looking to activate partners, we move towards mutual success plans where you've got things that are always on activities, and to be able to build predictable pipeline activities, because otherwise you have this spike. You do a webinar together, like this. If I don't talk to the team again, then like, how are we good partners on both sides? It's a flash in the pan stuff. There's no dedicated framework. It's interesting, Tara, I'd love your view on this one. Is Firmable, like you've done a fantastic job. You've got a sales engine which is working down a sales team where you can bring in SDRs and account managers and get that running for it. Mm-hmm. But what we see commonly is it's not deployed in the same way with partnerships. It's still like, go manage all these partners for it. So keen to get your view on the ability to activate partners across all the ecosystem touch points you said, versus your sales engine that you have humming quite nicely today.
Yeah, I think sales is interesting, particularly if you've got an outbound motion and we've got an SDR team. You can kind of go, okay, we know the benchmarks. We know if we add another, seat, another salesperson, they're going to generate X amount of pipe. So much is going to convert, etc. So the economics are very transparent and clear. I think both for partnerships and just marketing and kind of inbound efforts and broader, ecosystem and community activities, it's less precise in the way that you kind of attribute. But, we know, for example, even from our inbound, 70% of it is actually through people that are looking for our brand. So that's incredibly high, and we know a lot of that comes down to partners sharing our story that might not be direct, one-to-one referrals, or it's also customers sharing their good experiences and so forth. So, we know a lot of the efforts and time and energy that you put into partnerships and other marketing or ecosystem efforts plays a big role and has a big halo effect. It's just hard to kind of pinpoint it. So I think that's a bit of the difference between the way people kind of think about, adding sales roles versus other roles in partnerships or marketing or otherwise.
Yeah, insightful, Tara. I think the way that we see it, especially pushing up into corporates, if you're given $1 million partnerships target or closed revenue business, partners downstream are going to be able to deliver against that. And companies always look at total addressable market, service addressable market, and service obtainable market. But on the partnership side, they don't do the partner TAM, SAM, and SOM. So if you had 100 partners, how many leads do you need to get per partner? How often? What does that look like to be able to present a plan back upstream to be able to do that? And partner managers on the chat, I'd love to see some insights thinking through that, because I take your point. It's you've got these partners, but what impact are they making beyond maybe influencing the deal cycle or moving through it? And then this last one around inefficient enablement processes, whether they're using PRM tools or it's connected to your CRM or having affiliate software to be able to measure it. There's still we hear the term dark social, but there's a lot of dark social for partnership of the halo amplification. And Jodie, on your side, I think Tractor's been doing this non-stop really on like there's so much halo. Everyone, the brand is strong in market around it. But like, how are you thinking about maybe with Dan in the team around measuring the impact of partnerships and sort of tying that together?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're probably still getting there. We have a 90-day scorecard that we all contribute our different measurements to, and so Liz, definitely referral numbers is one of the metrics that we're tracking, and then I think the biggest challenge for us is just the engagement. And how do we? And now that we've got Liz on board, and she's just getting up to speed. What's the most effective way of getting that engagement? Because it's not the number of partners for us; it's just how we back to the vision, like giving them what is really useful for them, and how we're giving them that engagement that in a effective way.
Yeah, I look forward to coming up. I'll catch up with Liz in a few weeks, and I look forward to hearing more how it's all sort of playing out. Because as you build this engine in the same way that Tara has really got the sales engine humming nicely, you're able to get closer towards that predictable partnership outcome, which is what Tara mentioned. Which, if and where we see companies get partnership roles signed off, you've got a clear line of sight to ROI of it, and they're willing to make bets. Scott and I did a workshop up in Sydney recently with a CFO, and he was the old school style of show me the ROI around it, and we're able to build a plan in which got some resources and with a bottoms up plan, which we're able to stand behind. And he's like, great, well, you'll get the investment you needed because this now stacks up accordingly, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's an interesting dilemma, and the closer partnerships can move from art and towards science, I think that'll unlock the investment to bring forward what's possible. Mm-hmm. So in terms of how we operate, and we've evolved a few years in now, we started off with there's great people like Tim from Pencil on the call where, we'd come in and do some strategy work and send them on their way and get them going. But what we realized along the way is, partnerships takes a while to ramp and to get that partner buy-in, like you mentioned before, Jodes and Tara, in order to get that Activate engine going. And so we've built a productized service, which we've got some clients in today, which we've been building out over the last sort of 6 months. And the idea is that from our perspective, we're literally building our own flywheel of we'll get more partners in, we build more success, we'll be able to go faster and bring it to life. And we'll walk through some of the pillars now. Absolutely would love the perspective, the learnt perspective and the growing perspective of both Tara and Jodes as we do it. So, Jodes, I think when we first had our first catch up before we started, the conversation was, we've got these partners everywhere, we just don't know what to do. We're all running flat out. We're a proud 4-day-a-week business. We're a lean team. Just help us, like, what the bloody hell is partnerships? Kind of nearly started there. Yeah. How did that start to just work current state with Liz in seat and doing lots of amazing things?
Yeah, so as I kind of mentioned earlier, it was definitely great to bring in bring in your expertise and focus. And I think the real value as well was just the fresh eyes, because when you're in it and you're growing fast and you've got people everywhere and you don't have that clarity. And so having you come in externally and say, okay, what's going on here is so helpful. And so being able to set that vision and then, try to work out what's the best way to, I guess, group and ultimately give, because there are different partners do different things, but then they also cross over. So our growth partners are working in the ecosystem, helping with all sorts of things, advisory, accounting, legals, all sorts of mental health coaching, a lot of different things. They're working with our customers and potential customers, so then they also become referral partners as well. So it's kind of a cycle. So and then likewise with our perks partners, they're often there's a lot of value going both ways, and so that ends up bringing more business as well. So it's a cycle, and having the groups I think really helps us get clarity on how we treat each group primarily, knowing that there are secondary types and they cross over.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and is it like we always look at companies where they're up to in their partnerships maturity, and it is a staged growth as you go through it. And Tara, over to you. Like when we caught up with yourself, Paul and Lee, like you were thinking like, oh, what are these partnerships? I think we talked about VC partnerships and referral partners in and around the HubSpot ecosystem.
Yep.
How has that sort of evolved for yourselves into where you're at today?
Yeah, I think those early days we were like, there's all these different groups of people that could be our partners, right? But where does it make sense to invest the time and energy, and where is there the best alignment? So I guess we kind of started off focusing on things like VC partnerships and HubSpot partners, because you shouldn't have a CRM without really clean data and to get your outbound motion going, kind of go to market type consultants that are also trying to help their customers grow their business, and you need kind of great sales intelligence to do that. So we kind of honed in, and they largely still hold true as kind of key partnership areas for us. I think one of the things that you guys really helped us with is think about like what are the different motivations of each of those groups, because they're different, right? Not everybody wants like rev share. Sorry, I'm probably skipping ahead a little bit here, but not everybody's in it to kind of want a piece of the pie and rev share. Others want to be able to offer a perk onto their portfolio of companies like Tractor. Others just want to be seen as a thought leadership in the area and be up to date with the latest tools and tech and be able to kind of help spread the word. So, I think that was key for us in thinking about the different groups when we were mapping, but then importantly, what are the different motivations of each, and how can you make sure that there's good alignment, that, you're both kind of getting something out of the partnership that makes sense for you.
Yeah, and it's so commonly missed this phase. Like Rochelle, who's on the call, working the digital agencies, there's got to be enough reason for those digital agencies to want to drive Marcelo into their conversations in order to get the buy-in for it. And a lot of this is not really on the minds of leaders when they come in, because you sort of say, well, this is the revenue target, what can partnerships contribute? You just go get them to do it. But you actually have to flip the coin and go through this motion. Like the example I gave before with invest in your farmer, around making sure that there's value for them with their agronomists they're working with, or Rochelle with the digital agencies. Otherwise, you're potentially just a lot of noise to those partners, and you're not going to get the buy-in for that, which kicks into the activate phase, which absolutely needs to be done after you've done the following ones. But typically people are just starting here. They're like, oh, let's do a dinner together or a lunch together, and they have this spike of opportunities or some activities around it. But they would, if you start in that aspect, it's going to be very hard for you to provide like a 12-month view or 3-year view around what is the role of partnerships in here. So I think like even this webinar that we're doing right now, or we're both partners to both of you, and we've worked with you, and from the promotions that we've done on our side and you've done on your side, we've done this better together narrative in order to draw an audience today here with some solid numbers along. So as this activate phase comes in, we really drive mutual success plans, and what that means to us, it's not about QBRs of pretty slides of various events you've attended or things or product updates. It's more around, well, what are we going to do for the next 90 days together, the next 6 months? And the goal of that is to unlock organizational buy-in on both sides. And so, Tara, on your side, would be like, well, how do we help in the marketing and the ecosystem team, and Jode's the works we do with Liz and Dan to sort of bring things like this to life together. It doesn't happen with just a one-off one person really to actually get this part of your engine humming. Does that resonate?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to your point, partnerships isn't a one-person job. It's too much for one, and you need kind of multi people and touch points, and like whether you're doing a webinar or trying to activate your kind of community in other ways. Like you're going to be drawing on different expertise or thought leaders to maybe be a voice. So it's definitely one of those things that while you might have dedicated kind of resources that are responsible or kind of, hold the number, you actually need kind of buy-in and effort across the board.
Yeah, and it has to come from the top down that everyone's bought in. And, we would go further and say that if it's KPI driven to actually really move the needle, like Jode's like in retrospect, if you'd said, well, every sales activity, 50% of them needs to give a partner lead out or drop in an OKR or a KPI on it to make sure you've got this ongoing value. Because the goal of this pillar is it's not a one and done flash in the pan. It's building an always on engine that you've got this series of activities of whatever partnership means for you. And this is like establishing that moving forward. So I think for those people on the call, if you're a founder or exec, if you really want partnerships to hum, you need that top-down buy-in across the business to make it move the needle. Otherwise, it's going to be you'll get some spikes or green shoots, but it's going to be very hard when you do a strategy planning session sort of say, well, what can partnerships deliver next year to answer that question, right? So, all right. So picture environment, you get Activate. You've got these, we always say go deep with a select few partners. Forget trying to recruit, a bajillion of them that you can't keep up and chat to. And then a big part of that, which is what, Scott delivers as part of Hockey Stick is partner marketing, right? And, a recent report, a lot of people are doing this a little bit. But one insight quote that I like to think about is picture that you want 30% of your revenue to come from partnerships. Do you have 30% of your marketing budget dedicated to go towards that? And the answer is usually like, oh, no, we'll do it 5% or 1% when something pops up rather than being part of the strategy. So, Jodes, I'll pick on you to start off with. Like, what does that look like for Tractor? Like, how do you invest in partner marketing to go to market with through partners in a strategic way?
Yeah, no, that's actually really timely. We're just working on this at the moment, and Dan's come up with a plan. Where together with Liz on a whole sort of campaign, marketing, comms and events and things, like a whole strategy around that marketing side, so that it's really well known what we're doing and that Liz is the person doing it. And so as an open door to come and talk to Liz if this is something that could give you benefit, both through, a lot of our stuff is through LinkedIn, so there'll be like video content, written content, as well as like in-person stuff with events, which always works well.
Yeah, so you have operationalized the plan around that of how you're sort of bringing partners together, right? And, you hear a lot about, like, there's a lot of noise about Notion, using Notion in market. They're obviously very aggressive and they go to market, but building standard operating procedures around how does partnership operate in the business to build that predictable partner-led pipeline is kind of the goal of what's required. Because, Tara, even like where you're up to today, of your partnership maturity, how do you measure that? How does that flow into your CRM? Do you need more CRM tools? How does that back into a management report for a monthly or a live dashboard? All of these need to be solved for as you're building your partnership muscle, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And from pretty early on, long before any dedicated partnership resources, like we were making sure we were measuring from the get-go we use HubSpot as our CRM. So, we could very clearly see, okay, what's coming from, general inbound versus SDR-led outbound versus partnership referrals. And so that's kind of always been in place. So we can see what partnerships is contributing. I think we're still running at probably about 15 to 20% contribution, but you said earlier in the piece, like referrals convert at a much higher percentage. We see 50 to up to 75% conversion rates from some of our partners. So, so measurement is really important. There's also this, like you said, the kind of dark funnel around it too, and the halo effect. So we're now looking to kind of, level up a bit there as well. We're implementing First Promoter, which will then enable our partners to be able to spread the word online through their newsletters, etc., and make sure that attribution comes back to them for kind of rev share and sharing in the success as well. So that's kind of one way we're leveling up. But even if you're just getting going or getting started, like really encourage you to set up even kind of basic tracking and measurement, and that helps with the relationship ongoing, that transparency around what's happening with what partners are passing over the fence.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of companies, partner ops is another role you'll grow into, which Jode's on your side. I think Dan's sort of doing some today, and it sits alongside rev ops to be able to measure all those touch points. But like, how do you do payouts to partners efficiently? How do you have a learning management platform to get them to learn on there? We've got Lisa from How To on the call, who they do a great job at that. And there's a lot of other things to be able to think about, those engagement touch points of your 80-20, which partners are producing, or HubSpot team who are on the call are looking at, or do we try and do more with our existing partners, or do we go find new partners? And how do you bring the partnership engine together? And there's going to be, it's a little bit a case of some boring stuff, or to go slow to go fast, but with that predictable engine, there's a little bit of work that needs to be done.
And I think you can automate some of it as well. Like with some of our really active referral partners, for example, we've got a Slack channel dedicated to the two groups, us and them. And then as they've referred in a customer, as that customer tracks through our HubSpot funnels, so like that, they've made an application for a loan. There'll be a ping in the Slack channel, the application's been received. Then when it gets moved to, now that the application is in the queue for IC, it'll get pinged. And so so we can all see, because it's all great, you've referred someone in, but then sometimes you just don't even know whatever happened to that.
That's right.
By this, they can say, okay, great. Oh, if I see that person again in the next few, I'll know, okay, yeah, I saw it's in the IC queue, or it's just been approved. Great, I can chat to them again, and that sort of thing. And that works really well.
Yeah, to be able to close the loop. And like Tara's point before, in the data we're showing, that if you're actually able to show that these referrals convert much higher, then they need to be given the attention they deserve, because they're often vetted, highly qualified, and ready to go.
Yeah, that's right.
It's, you want to make sure you're not wasting those. So then you get it going, and then their final pillar is accelerate. And this is where you want to place some big bets. Say, yes, we want to double down, triple down into, yes, we're going to make a hire that's dedicated partnerships category or head of partnerships, or we're going to invest a lot more headcount to be able to really drive this forward. And we're seeing a lot of the global, Microsoft and AWS in particular are really, tripling down really on partnerships. Apple's just last week launched a new global partner program. And so, if it's good enough for Apple, maybe there's a lead indicator that to do it. But equally, you're unlikely to get a CFO, CRO sign off to accelerate it if you haven't optimized and have the reports, if you haven't activated to show that the channel is producing for it. So there's usually a hearty discussion with an aggressive CFO here to debate the merits of it, and to get the sign off with a resounding yes, if you've done the work beforehand. That's what we're focusing on setting companies up for success. So let's move on. This thing called AI, some of you, it pops up. All right. So in terms of, our views is that it's still absolutely evolving before our eyes on a weekly basis. I think the partner enablement piece, there's a lot of tooling and efficiencies under the hood that we can all use, and we're all playing around with in lots of ways. There's some tooling we'll be able to integrate faster that's coming through, and obviously with the development speed which is happening for it, to be able to predict these partner performance once you've got the engine going on top of CRM and PRM. And so native AI tools are absolutely sort of coming through across the board. No surprise, we're also looking into this and looking at key problems to solve for it. And if Scott could just load up the poll, we're keen to hear and pressure test right now from everyone here today around it, what would be most useful for some of the tools that we're looking at to bring in as part of our services upcoming. So there'll be a poll on your screen here, and in terms of what that looks like, of measuring your partner maturity scorecard, so you know where you stand today, and how do you get to the next step and stage to be able to have those conversations internally. To be able to look at your entire ecosystem map and what does that look like. I think for the partner managers, we get asked a lot of how can we build an ROI bottoms up planner? Like, Jodie, if you imagine to sort of say, if you allocated a target to Liz and sort of say, go deliver this, how do you just actually produce what is your partner TAM, SAM, SOM, and where to spend efforts to be able to roll that up in a nice, easily digestible way? Or is it a case of partner marketing campaigns, helping roll out a bunch of initiatives with partners, which will drive top of funnel, middle of funnel opportunities back into the business. So if we get a few more votes on this one, I'll be interested to sort of talk to the bottoms up planner, which is coming up as prevalent now from a partner manager level. We see it's like a critical tool, interestingly, and that's to be able to get the internal buy-in. Where partnerships go wrong, we see where someone's put into a partnerships role, they're not set up for success, not given resources, and they're asked to go find leads or close business without the actual tooling or investment to help support their success. So I'm not really surprised that's come out as the dominant one to be able to show the value of what partnerships for Promised Land can be. So, all right, interesting. All right, Scott, we'll come back on that one, I reckon, because there's more to come of what we're brewing up behind the scenes from our side to shape our thinking. So, all right, let's bring it full circle. Then, Tara, over to you. How can people in partnerships in Australia and New Zealand use Firmable as an intelligence tool in order to find out the details of who they want to go after, to be able to activate those conversations, which connecting back into their CRM? Over to you.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, the poll you ran earlier, I wrote down 23% think that it's a challenge just mapping out the ecosystem, right? So, we help people identify their ideal customer profile. The same thing applies with your IPP, your ideal partner profile, right? So, we use our own tool for our partnership strategy. So, in the earlier days when we were talking with you, we could go, okay, if these are the buckets, let me bring up the register of all the VCs in Australia that we want to, target or prioritize for partnerships, or, who are all the HubSpot partners, or we now also have an AI search that can bring up influencer ratings. So as we move more into that kind of individual influencer space and think about, okay, who are the top voices in sales roles in Australia, we can do that in a very quick, just natural language search. So yeah, we can be here to help kind of, I guess, map out your landscape, who your ideal partner profile is, but then importantly, help you identify the people within those businesses as well to speak with and connect with and provide you with the mobiles or emails or whatever to be able to reach out and connect. And probably even more importantly, and this is really kind of where a lot of the value of Firmable comes in, is signal. So thinking about, well, when is a good time to reach out to a potential partner, either for the first time when you're trying to source and activate, but also when you're trying to nurture. So, and that's the struggle that we kind of had initially from a resourcing perspective, was nurturing those relationships. And you don't want to just kind of go, hey, how can we get some more referrals from you this quarter? Or like, you want a good excuse or reason to kind of reach out. And so we monitor all of our partners through a list and a signals agent within Firmable. So you talk about AI tools. We've got kind of AI agents within our platform that can also monitor what's going on with your existing partner base. So, has there been a move? Has somebody moved roles? Has somebody been promoted? Is somebody hiring a new partnerships manager on the team, or things like that make it helpful to then go, okay, now's a good time to reach out to my contact there.
Yeah, I think the signal thing is massive and it's underrated, rather than they're just burning lists, right? Which is not what it's about in a noisy world. Yeah. And Jodes, over to you for founders and execs on the room. What role could Tractor have to support their growth?
Yeah, thank you. I think we get lots of natural referrals because the ecosystem generally likes to see founders save on dilution when they can. And, a lot of the broad stuff that we've done is about educating that it's not always a good idea to sell shares. Like if you're growing your partnerships or your sales, or that the ad machine's working, like selling shares for those things that bring revenue straight in is very expensive. And so basically any company that you're working with or yourselves, if you are growing and you know that you're going to be bringing revenue in from that growth, then there's four main, loan products we have. One is a term loan, which varies from 3 months to 5 years. One is we lend against R&D. If you're doing any R&D grants, then we can lend against that claim, that refund. We do inventory advance as well. So if you are manufacturing or buying in inventory, so we do a lot of e-commerce lending. We've got products for that. And then we've got a new line of credit as well, which acts like a bank overdraft. So that's actually really helpful if you're putting on that new salesperson, but there is a sales lead time, and so that you've got to wait before, so you've got this money going out before it's coming in, then just having that, I like to call it sleep at night money, sitting there that you can draw on when those months get a bit sticky, then they're the sorts of things that we can help with, or any combination of. So we love talking to founders about what's coming up and what they're struggling with, and where we can help, and saving dilution along the way.
Yeah, I love it, Joe. I love how since I've known Tractor as well, you've just evolved a product ecosystem of what you offer, solving more problems as well, is always exciting around what's coming up and what's next. So thank you for that. All right, so 3 takeaways for everyone who have spent your valuable lunchtime today thinking about what is the role of partnerships and bringing it to life. So I like the way Tara kind of answered this one earlier, what if every team, not just sales, was enabled through partnerships? So you get bigger reach through marketing. Like I mentioned before, sales are enabled for influence, insights, and intros along the way, and be able to drive that back into the funnel. Customer success, you might not have to do as much on the support side because your partners are delivering services or providing answers for you. You're able to go faster, and so there's no reason to have to sort of go it alone. And as AI, rewrites, changes, or shifts the traditional go-to-market playbooks, can you still reach your customers going it alone? And I think it's an interesting perspective. And I was chatting to Greg, who I mentioned earlier about this, is that if Pavilion are looking at this for partnerships an integral part of your go-to-market, then if you're potentially behind on your growth aspirations through inbound, outbound changing, and you want partnerships to fill a hole, then so are your partners likely too, or potential partners. Their inbound, outbound is likely changing too. So we're seeing a bit of a tipping point in the moment around the role of partnerships, because if you're able to activate these partners and get it going, or what if your competitors partner in building these tight relationships before you, ahead of you, and build those built in? Can you stay competitive? And so there's also a bit of a defensive play for it. To make sure you embrace partnerships, and the right kind of partnerships delivered in the right way. So in terms of our framework, we've got a November cohort kicking off for our line. Scarily, it's 12 weeks to Christmas today, nearly, right? Which is ridiculous. So what we want to be working with is a small group of companies who want to get ready for next year and get it market ready before Christmas, which is what we'll be driving towards. So this COVID-inspired QR codes that we all know, you can register some interest here or in a follow-up email come through. As a part of that, we'll also send through our Partnerships Insights report, so you can get insights around the benchmark of where you sit today as an organisation, and see if we're the right fit to help you drive forward partnerships. In the same way, like Tara and Joe have grown into partnerships over time, and that is how it operates. It's not a case of do some work before Christmas and then January it's firing. It's about building the partnerships engine as you do across your organisation. And like Tara mentioned before, we encourage you to take out a trial of their offering. We use it ourselves, and we've got some more white papers and projects upcoming ourselves where we're building towards, which we'll absolutely be using Firmable's tools to bring to life. So with that, there's no greater gift than the gift of time. We're back 7 minutes early. Open for questions in the chat around it. But thank you for everyone who's joined and given their time today to be a part of this. Hopefully it's been a robust and insightful conversation from some great industry leaders who have joined us. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Bryan.
Thanks, Tara. Thanks, Jodie.
Everyone.
We'll start.